Alright, we should be live, fixing my posture, and we're back. We're working on Electro, Assaulting Battery. Here he is in case you need a reminder of how he works. I forgot to open the thing again. Hang on. Up. But I have the proper deck list in front of me. What are you chiming about? So, we're at 151 cards. And the banned and restricted announcement just went live, and as somebody who has been playing more Brawl than Standard lately to do my dailies, I could not be happier to see Strip Mine go. I am kind of sad about Ancient Tomb. I don't really care too much about Chrome Mox, and Mana Drain going makes me a little sad. Mana Drain, though, is kind of up there. I can definitely see that one. Ancient Tomb, I never like banning enablers. I like banning the things that they enable that are problematic. Like, if I put an Ancient Tomb in my deck, I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, if I can cast my spell a turn earlier for 2 damage. And I don't think my opponent having access to Ancient Tomb, especially not on Arena where it's a wild card to craft it rather than, an $80, $200, whatever Ancient Tomb is currently at right now. I know it's very expensive. I can't remember if it's just under $100 or if it's closer to $200, but I know it's expensive. So, but on Arena, it's just, crafting it, and if it's ubiquitous to all the decks, then you only have to craft it once no matter how many decks you want to have built and playing. So I'm a little sad to see Ancient Tomb go. I've had to adjust all of my decks in preparation for tomorrow, and Mana Drain's a lot more, like, it's not an enabler, it is you are now losing the game by such a wide metric if it happens early enough in the game that it's probably a good thing. Like, in regular Commander with, multiplayer format, Mana Drain is not that bad. Similar to Strip Mine. Like, Strip Mine is not a problem in Commander because you can't Strip Mine lock 3 other people without massive amounts of effort, and if you've put all that effort into it, you kind of deserve to win, so. But, yeah, I'm sad to see them go, but Strip Mine was making me more and more aggressively angry at the format the more often I had to play against Ren and 6, so I am thrilled to see that thing go. Like, if I have to lose access to Mana Drain and Ancient Tomb to see Strip Mine go, that's a fair trade. So anyway, we're at 151 cards. That's my opinion on the Brawl Commander fan list, because that is the one that is most relevant to me. I have not played Standard outside of playing like a game of Standard in Ranked just to get the extra booster pack at the end of the season. So excuse me. So I know Vivi is destroying the format by either, like most things, it's either this is your main deck and you think everybody else is either complaining about it too much, or you agree but you're not going to stop playing it because there's nothing else to do, or it's been destroying the format as far as you're concerned and he desperately needed to go. And there hasn't been any real middle ground on Vivi, I don't think, from anybody who is actively playing the format and has an opinion. The other stuff going, I don't know how. Like, I know Prof's Eidetic Memory was in the VV deck, so banning it because it's going to be, like, the shell is still there makes sense. And especially since they didn't ban Soul Cauldron, so if anything else becomes problematic, like, you're already getting the free counters from FOMO and whatnot, so. And then the extra damage from FOMO if it has Delirium. So I can kind of see that. And Screamy Boy was always kind of brutal, so I'm not surprised if they're preemptively banning stuff to stop, like, the next major deck from ruining the format that Screamy Boy went, so. High Tide is back on the Uzi Thing ban list, Pauper ban list, so that's back down. Hadn't really. I have not been paying any attention to Legacy. The last time I paid attention to Legacy was like 15 years ago when I was doing Sneak and Show at, you know, um, Grand Prix in North Jersey. I think it was like 15 years ago. How long has it been since Cons of Tarkir? That long. That long, because I definitely did a lot of cons drafting and bought a bunch of cons Japanese foil fetch lands from one of the Japanese dealers there, along with like finally got my Elspeth Knight Aaron and a few other things. Traded in a bunch of English stuff for store credit. Buy it all. I forget what else I got. I know I got my fetches. I know I got Elspeth. I'm sure I picked up multiple other Japanese foil planeswalkers that I was missing from my collection at the time, but I can't remember. But yeah, that was the last time I super cared about Legacy, because I was actually going to a Legacy event and I did Sneak and Show. And bombed out of the main tournament, but, did at least try. Anyway, so we at 151. We need 91 cuts. That doesn't sound right. Wait, no. Yeah, it does. Need 91 cuts, so that way we have 60 spells and 40 lands. Well, that seems excessive. Wonder if I can lose Pyrokinesis since it doesn't go face. Originally it was on the list because it's a free spell, so I can cast it by exiling a red card, destroy my opponent's thing, and like kill their creature or a couple of little creatures, and then get a free red mana out of the deal. But I'm starting to think that maybe Pyrokinesis isn't going to be good enough. Plus, we already have Fury on the list, and Fury's a bit stronger. So it lacks the instant speed Pyrokinesis. Do want Goblin Bombardment, want to be able to kill my commander whenever I need to. Price of Progress stays, Spell Shock stays, Fault Line, Gamble. I can probably lose Gamble. I do not like Gamble in decks where I'm going to burn through my hand relatively quickly and where I don't have graveyard synergies for it. Like, I either want a deck where I'm going to be holding a ton of cards, so that way, if I discard the card that I tutored for, I feel like I got insanely unlucky. If I have like 5+ cards in my hand when I cast Gamble and I lose the card, it's like, yeah, that was less than a 20% chance that was going to happen. I feel like it was perfectly reasonable to cast Gamble there, but if I'm gonna have like 2 or 3 cards in hand when casting Gamble, or worse, if I can actually have to like wait to draw a card next turn so that way I can cast Gamble and have a 50-50 shot. I think it's a lot worse. It's still playable at that point because it's still, a 50-50 shot that you're going to get the card that you desperately need, and when you have cards like Wheel of Fortune in the deck, it's totally reasonable. But I'm also going to be really sad when it winds up in my graveyard, so I prefer decks that can either take advantage of... The best ones are the ones that can take advantage of it. When you don't care if the card goes to the graveyard is where Gamble's at its absolute best. When you want your Gamble to be in Tomb for red mana. Gonna keep Skull Clamp. I have too many little 1/1 Goblin Makers to not run Skull Clamp as a way to refill my hand. Fire stays, Gauntlet Power. Although I suppose without one of the like Phyrexian altar or something, I'm not gonna be able to sacrifice the goblin, like kill off the goblins if I have any of my fancy gloves in play or the sun. Bright should stay. Jaws of Stone, Stigma Lasher, Burst Lightning, Spire Barrage, Galvanic Blast, Cough, Yes, Galvanoth. I mean, it really depends how many instants and sorceries I wind up with, whether or not Galvanoth is going to stay. The more of them I cut, the more likely it is to just go. Which point in time Charmbreakers also probably goes. I don't really need the Kiki combo. I could probably lose Zealous Conscripts. It's tempting to have them because I have a couple ways to sacrifice creatures, so being able to steal your best thing, beat you half to death with it, and then sacrifice it is good, but I don't need the infinite combo, and I don't need. Like, I think Kiki's better than Zealous Conscripts in the deck anyway. There's a world where I lose Mizium Mortars, but I think being able to kill all the opponent's mid-sized creatures and small guys at too useful when I don't have a proper Wrath, especially since it's not killing my guys. Because Storm's Wrath would be 2 mana less, a red and a colorless less, but it would kill Electro pretty consistently, so. Attic stays for right now. Could be Fire Dancer, but I think I like Fire Dancer too much. Cut it just yet. Being able to kill off their stuff while burning their face is actually super helpful, so. Reveler. I have a bunch of other card draw spells. Maybe Bedlam Reveler can go. It's only okay in the deck. Keep Neheb. I think Neheb is way too strong. Like this Neheb specifically. The other one is fine, but this one, if any opponent is vulnerable and I actually get to attack them for a whole bunch, getting to add all that extra mana. Just a little too strong. Boss stays for right now. Champion still stays. It's not the best, but it's still playable. Crusher Giant is okay. Fire. If 3 red was spent to cast it. Because that is the thing that makes me consider dropping Slaying Fire is the I always want to call them the wrong thing. The medallion, Ruby Medallion. Making it cost a colorless less actually makes it so I can never deal 4 damage. I still think it's okay. I've said that before, where it's like, okay, so now it's a lightning strike all the time. That's not unplayable. And the fact that it's 3 mana for 4 damage outside of that is helpful. Be the Artisan. Could in theory be Gatekeeper. Sushi might be able to go. We have a couple other dragons on the list. That Sushi's very mana efficient though. Mana 4/4 Flample and dies into one of two full effects. Airbreaker, Bombardment. You really like Glittering Stockpile. Phyrexia is fine. Sulfim. Brask, Fiery Inscription. Bone Horde's neat and all, but it's not actually in keeping with the deck. Like, it can make a treasure, it can make 3/1 dinosaurs. The making a treasure is what keeps it on the list right now. But I could see just getting rid of it. Spire Lynx almost definitely stays. Razorkin. Boy. Unlock. House Squad Heavy. Five's a bit too good. Five's very on topic. All of his different modes. Giant Angry Removal spell, a bunch of card draw, and then a whole bunch of mana rebated back to me. Six to flip, but then I get 8 mana back. So eventually I'll be able to flip him again. Get more cards to work with each time, and I get to keep punching things out until he finally dies. I wonder if I lose Maximum Carnage. I don't want to, but it's an enchantment, not an instant or sorcery, so it's not interacting with a bunch of the other cards on the list. It does deal 5 damage to each opponent and give me 3 red mana when it costs 5. Alright, I think we lose Maximum Carnage. I do like that it rebates me a bunch of the mana used to cast it, and will deal 5 damage to my opponents and possibly force them to make bad attacks, but end of the day, it's not particularly good compared to other things on the list that I would rather keep. Need to make a whole bunch of cuts, so literally 2/3 of the deck have to go. I wonder, now that I've cut the 2 rituals that care about creatures in play, like, do I actually need all of the creature makers? Like, what if I just went all in on Electro's actual game text? Because originally I was running them because we had the House Squad Heavy, the Brightstone Ritual, and Battle Hymn. and they were all making a ton of mana because I had creatures out. But what if I didn't have all these creatures? Because they're not actually helping Electro with what he's doing. I mean, they both are and aren't. Like, being able to tap House Squad heavy for a ton of mana, especially with, like, Krenko out, would be huge, but... Of course, there are a bunch of creatures to attack the opponents with. But what if we don't even bother with that? Can we actually win with a more pure burn deck? Also, if I got rid of a lot of the creatures, I could add in repercussions, so that way all of my mass damage effects would also hit the opponents for all their dying creatures. Like, we might be able to cut, like, all of the goblin stuff and bring in, um, like, actually bring in Storm's Wrath and or Anger of the Gods, and then add in repercussions. Do I like that more? I might actually like that more. Let's get rid of a bunch of the things that aren't these. Like, do I want... Ooh, excuse me. Do I want Pyrokinesis to stay in the deck then if I'm getting rid of the other stuff? Probably not. Alright, so real quick, let me make sure we get all of these off of the sub lists also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, take those off the list. So, 146. Alright, if we just got rid of the Goblin sub-theme entirely... Gorilla Shaman gets to stay. Goblin Bombardment... I think I run other ways to kill my commander now, so I don't need Bombardment or... Phyrexian Arena, I don't think. I guess I leave them on the list for right this second, because they're ways to sacrifice my commander that just add to the damage anyway. The Bombardment deals 1, and the Altar adds 1 more mana for the damage, so... Alright, so we cut Mog Infestation. Hang on real quick. Be back for 1 second. Let me save real quick so I can undo all of this. If I look at it and decide, no, that's too much. Get rid of that. Get rid of the Matron. Citadel, Altar, Mirari. Mana Echoes can go because I won't have the things anymore. Skark Prospector goes. Iki is 5. Keeping those. Better Snipe stays, because it's more in here for the damage it deals to the opponents. It being a goblin was just a, like, side benefit. If I'm going a lot less creatures, Perforos loses a lot of his luster. He's not entirely out, but I think he loses enough stuff that I'm going to wind up cutting him anyway at that point. Fire Dancer stays. Outpost Siege is now almost entirely for the first mode. Which means maybe it can go too, because I have better Outpost Siege variants at that point. So we don't need that one also. Ebb is still fine. Legion War Boss can go. It's 8. Fable stays for right now, because it's still doing other stuff, making the treasures off of the Goblin token, letting me loot away excess cards, and copying some of my other creatures are all fine. Stockpile, Facebreaker, Vision, Sulfim, the Orbrask, Shoe, Sword. House Squad Heavy goes. It's 9. It's 10. Sear Slicer's 11. This is 12. It's 13. I'm also a lot less of a go wide deck, so Surge can probably go. 14. It's 15. Probably cut Name Sticker Goblin. It's a little bit tempting because it can make 5 mana, so it can actually go up 2 mana just for casting it. Maybe it stays for right now. It's Prospector from the sub list. The Outpost Siege, Pressure, Slaying Fire, Vortex, Crackle, Inscription, Bane, Shoot. Again. So if I copy them shard, 15 cards on the list. Goblins or goblin centric. Alright. It's down to 31. And yeah, I still have a ton of creatures on the list, so maybe I need to get rid of a few more creatures. I'm going to bother with repercussions, otherwise this is just stick to what I have and don't worry too much about a different sub-theme. I don't need to. Yeah, I don't think I can flip over to the more like mass damage based on the creatures in play, try and use repercussions in conjunction with it. Game plan with all the creatures I still have on the list that will still die and ping me for, 13 damage each. If I'm not careful. I am wondering now though if I can cut more of the creatures off of the list. Because they're fine, but my commander kind of wants instants and sorceries more, so if I have to make a lot of cuts. Cut more creatures. I think I can lose that sushi. I think it's worse than, like, for one more mana, the Bonehorde Dracosaur, where it's exiling 2 cards that I get to play every turn and giving me treasures to work with for existing. Now, granted, at Sushi, if it dies, I immediately get the reward. Whereas if the Bonehorde Dracosaur dies the turn that I cast it, I get nothing out of it. Which might be a good argument for the Dracosaur also going. Because I have a bunch of other cards that give me access to more cards per turn. We are losing most of the dragons now for Magda to go fetch. But Magda is also in here to attack. Although Magda might be able to go just because she's worse Ragavan at that point. So, argument to be made for bothering with her. I think I can lose the bone also. Alright, let's do that. It's cool, it's powerful, it's not needed at all. Oh, we can actually lose the White Lotus tile now that I've gotten rid of all the goblins. I got that one. But to double check what things Imperial Recruiter still tutors for. I got rid of a lot of the cheaper things. It still tutors for a bunch of creatures in my deck, but not as many as I would probably like it to. Yeah, I still think we can Hearth and Home for right now. For right now, anyway, I might wind up cutting it, but send in Furnace, Chaos Warp, Sudden Demise, Forum. I did cut a bunch of the other ritual effects because they're all one shots. This thing got to stay because it's a goblin and was counting towards the other cards, but yeah, I can probably lose the name sticker. It's way too low impact. Okay. That's 4. Right, 4 more cards off the list. It's down to 127. Alright, that off. Lightning Bolt. Lightning. Blood Moon's fine for right now. Incinerate. Not mind a Mox Monkey, but maybe we wind up cutting him. So good against decks that are relying on like cheap artifact ramp, like especially treasure tokens. Keep them in check. Nobody's been paying the 2 to draw when they draw cards. I guess I'll just destroy all the free treasures you've gotten. Or, enough of them. Ending. Also, I only have to pay 1 because I get to blow up their treasure instead of having to pay 2, so seems a lot better. It's fine. Insurrection stays. Sulfuric Vortex. Planar Lens probably still stays. Doubling Cube, Braid of Fire, Gauntlet. Vegas can go. It's more vulnerable than Blood Moon is. It's possible both the Magus and the Blood Moon go, and I just run the ones that deal damage based on the number of non-basic lands. That seems more in keeping with the deck's theme. I think I'm going to cut the Magus at the very least. I'll decide on Blood Moon later. Obviously, you can run Blood Moon just to mana screw opponents to get you some free wins, but I don't think this deck necessarily needs that. It's things. Stay for right now. Alvinoth should stay for right now. Sun, Shrine, Charm Breakers. Keep Vandal Blast. 6 stays for right now. Sir. Chandra, definitely keep that in the heb. Maybe I lose Dreadhorde Champion, though. So the biggest problem with Dreadhorde Champion is that this deck actually wants all of its lands. Like, rummaging away lands is not as helpful as it would be in other decks. It's still useful, but I'd rather increase card quantity, which a lot of my exile the top card and I can play them this turn effects are doing, so yeah, I can see losing Dreadhorde Champion. It's fine, but it's another one of those I play it and it does nothing because I'm not running Boots and Greaves, so reduce number of cards without comes into play effects or statics that are just working the whole time. Like I don't mind something like Torbrand where he's increasing the damage just by existing, or Torolf here who's letting me deal extra damage when I deal excess damage. Like they don't have to be able to attack the turn they come down to be effective. They just need to come down and be in play, and then my other cards will get to do things because of that. So yeah, even though I don't have a lot of straight up comes into play abilities, which makes me wonder if I can get away with Torpor Orb, which is always a thought whenever I have uh, a deck that is not reliant at all on comes into play effects. It's two more. 125 now. I wonder if I get rid of Thember Shard only because it's going to kill all of my creatures when it comes down. Although it's creatures without flying, so it never kills Electro. Alright, never mind. Keep Thember Shard for right now. Keep Jaws. Fire Moss, fine. Send in Furnace. Titan. Shot. Dead. Sunspire. Virtue. Gatekeeper. Crackle. Vortex. Wondering if Eruption is just Royal Eruption is just too low impact compared to the other ones. The fact that it's a sorcery and it costs 7 mana to get up into the decent damage range, like it's fine. I don't think it was wrong to put it on the list, but I think we have better options overall. So Rift, Fault Line, Spell Shock. Rid of Royal Eruption. 24. tiny bit of time left. Let's see what else we can get. Scepter, Arcane Signet, Descend into Avernus, Hearth and Home, Ragavan, Goggles, Roku, Skin, Zuko, Oroku, Tall. Yeah, no, I target my opponents too often with stuff. Draw extra cards is too useful as a secondary effect of this thing being a mana rock. It might be too slow. Maybe it's too slow. I can only commit a crime once per turn to get the counter. 2 counters to draw a card. Yeah, maybe it's too slow. Alright. Talk myself into it. Brask, Chandra, Icebreaker, Stockpile, Chandra, Stormkill, and Artisan could still go, but I feel like I'm tightening the deck down closer to making him good again. The biggest problem is that I have a lot of non-creature spells that are like artifacts and enchantments. So Magecraft is not as good as a prowess style trigger is for this deck. Like ideally I really want prowess type triggers, not instants and sorcery specifically. Science, Feast and Famine. Maybe I drop Koth. He's useful in the idea that he untaps the mountain to make them into creatures. He also can be used as a ritual, but I've cut every other one-shot ritual, and Koth is kind of that. He starts off on 3, and we -2, so we can't ritual again for at least 2 turn cycles. He has to plus and then minus on the turn after that. Yeah, I can talk myself into cutting Koth because of that. Like if instead of this +1, if we had the, sorry, smacked my microphone. If we had the other Koth's +1, the search for a mountain, so I could grab mountains with him and use them to ritual. I think if he had those two together, I'd keep him, but I think just guaranteeing I hit my land drops every single turn is a bit too strong. I forgot to cut Mana Echoes this list before. Fix that. Riv the Hall. Off. He who is of the hammer. It's down to 122. Alright. Just about at the 50-minute mark, and I do have to get ready for work soon, so I think I call it there for right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.